several security incidents, including attack on police posts and stations in some parts of the country, where officers who were reportedly ambushed and firearms forcefully taken, has exposed vulnerabilities in current firearm storage, monitoring, and rapid response systems. Honourable members, the petitioner contends that the theft or unauthorized removal of police firearms places police officers at heightened operational risk, endangers civilians, and undermines public confidence in national security institutions. The petition observes that the firearm issuance and armory management systems in many police stations remain largely manual and lack immediate electronic detection mechanisms capable of flagging unauthorized removal or tampering in real time. Further, the petitioner notes that there is presently no mandatory nationwide encrypted and automated alert system that instantly notifies command structures upon irregular firearm movement, thereby delaying rapid response and recovery efforts. Honourable members, the petitioner therefore prays that the National Assembly intervenes to amend the National Police Service Act, the Firearms Act, and related legislation to establish a secure national digital firearms detection and tracking system within the National Police Service. This, the petition asserts, must include biometric controlled smart armories, encrypted real-time tracking and alert mechanisms, safeguards for operational confidentiality, dedicated budgetary support and statutory protections to ensure officers are not unfairly held liable for systemic technological failures. Honourable members, having established that the matters raised in the petition fall within the authority of this House and that they are not pending before any court of law or constitutional body, I hereby commit the petition to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration pursuant to the standing orders of the House. The committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order 2272. I thank you. Yes, KJ?
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, because our standing orders do allow for comments to petitions. And Mr. Speaker, what has been brought forward, though it goes to the petition committee, it also does involve the committee led by Honorable Tongoyo, and it also speaks to some issues in the Committee for Communication. That today's technology, Mr. Speaker, allows for effective tracking, and we must thank the petitioner for bringing this to the House. And Mr. Speaker, it is to request your office to allow for some engagement with the Committee on Communication and also some engagement with the Committee for Internal Security led by Honorable Tongoyo so that we may be able to put our word on this petition. But Mr. Speaker, Dagoretti South, having suffered some brunt of this theft of police equipment and attack on police stations, also sees some input, some interest in this petition, Mr. Speaker, and we must thank the petitioner even as this goes to the petition committee. It is a new world, Mr. Speaker. It is requiring for us to make use of available technology even in public policing and in security. So, Mr. Speaker, we must thank the petitioner for this petition, and I hope that my committee and that committee of Honorable Tongoyo shall be involved in prosecuting this petition. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Milemba?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That petition will grow that space of security, especially the issue of firearm movement. And the petitioner, as I thank him, he has opted to talk about one side of it where the policemen will lose their firearms because they have been attacked, like the examples he has already given. But there are situations whereby the policemen themselves could hire out guns and firearms illegally for criminal activities, something that has been spoken to several times. I think this is a very good petition, and therefore both the committees that have been given that opportunity to look at it should be careful to develop it in such a way that it brings a law which can digitize movement of firearms from both police stations, police posts, and any other spaces where we have firearms. And this will go a long way in making sure that firearms are with the correct people and they can be tracked anytime. Honorable Speaker, yesterday I was at Kenyatta National Hospital and I noticed they have digitized everything. They can see the money movement, the movement of patients, and virtually everything is now digital. I think this is one space where the Ministry of Interior can actually use this leverage to make sure that we can track the movement of firearms and even later the bullets. And that will really save us a lot of trouble. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. I agree with KJ and Milemba. Majority Leader, you look at this petition and I direct that you find a way of fusing the committees of ICT, security, and the petitions committee to look at it and see how you can engineer some legislation. It makes a lot of sense. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Chairperson, Committee on Members' Services and Facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to read the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 11th June 2026. Report of the Committee on Member Services and Facilities on its inspection visits to constituency offices in Nakuru County.
Thank you. Next.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Washira Karani. Washira Karani. Chair, Committee on Member Services.
Correct. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of Committee on Member Services and Facilities on inspection visits in constituency offices in Nakuru County, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 11th June 2026.
Thank you. Next.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The usual files the statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2a. I rise to present the following statement. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee met on Tuesday, 9th June 2026 to prioritize business for consideration during the week and the business coming before the House in the following week. Honorable Speaker, as members may have noticed from the order paper today, the House Business Committee approved very light business for the sitting. This is intended to allow the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, Honorable FCPA, John Mbadi, EGH, to make a public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the financial year 2026-2027, commencing at 3 p.m. Honorable Speaker, with regard to business scheduled for Tuesday next week, the House is expected to undertake the following business. 1, the second reading of the following bills. 1 is Appropriation Bill of 2026. 2 is the Finance Bill of 2026, if public participation will have been concluded on this bill. 3 is a Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill of 2026. 4 is the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill of 2026. 5 is the Kenya Revenue Authority Amendment Bill of 2026. 6 is the Plant Protection Bill of 2025. And 7, the Competition Amendment Bill of 2026. And just to remind the Chair Finance and the Chair Agriculture that we are still waiting for them to table the reports of those two bills. That's the Plant Protection Bill from the Chair Agriculture and the Competition Amendment Bill from the Chair Finance. Two, Honorable Speaker, there will be committee of the whole House on the following bills. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the impeacher.
For Gatundu South, is it? Go on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The consultations were too loud. And the consultations were coming from the corner where the Honorable Mwengi Mutusa is seated. And when there's a cabinet secretary or cabinet secretaries in the House, you never know what Mwengi Mutusa could be planning. Honorable Speaker, I was on the committee of the whole House on the following bills. One is the Appropriation Bill of 2026, and two, the Fisheries Management and Development Bill of 2023. Honorable Speaker, debate will also be undertaken on the following motions. One, report on inspection visit to the East African Science and Technology Commission and the East African Health Research Commission. Two is report of the Kenya delegation to the 151st Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings. Three is a second report on the status of reports on petitions and resolutions. Four, report on consideration of a petition regarding the proposal to amend the Consumer Protection Act. Five is report on the audited financial statements of selected state corporations in the roads and transport sector. And six is the eighth report on audited financial statements of 6 state corporations. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the House business shall reconvene again on Tuesday, 16th June 2026 to schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table, Honorable Speaker, and as I've indicated, Honorable Speaker, today the House business had approved. Within the next 10 minutes, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, the Honorable FCPA John Mbadi, EGH, to make his pronouncement on the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the next financial year. Honorable Speaker, I'm re-emphasizing that, Honorable Speaker, because I know, Honorable Speaker, you are a senior counsel. And your predecessor, the Honorable J.B. Muturi, was not a senior counsel. But I know also the former Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka, is said to be a senior counsel. And I saw them yesterday, Honorable Speaker, purport, together with other people out there, that the Cabinet Secretary was coming to read out the budget. You know, Honorable Speaker, I wondered, least of all, I can forgive Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, because the last time you held public office was under the old constitution. And therefore, he's still living in the past of the old constitution, where cabinet secretaries would come and read budgets to the country. But for the Honorable J.B. Muturi, my friend, who sat in your place as a speaker, under this new constitution, and knows very well that the cabinet secretary does not come here to read any budget. We have in fact concluded with the budget estimates. All that remains is for us to consider the appropriation bill that I've just read here, which we will consider next week. And all the cabinet secretary is coming to do is to come and give his public pronouncement or his statement on budget highlights and revenue-raising measures. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I would urge the country to forgive these people. In their confusion, they are still living in the past. That is why, Honorable Speaker, we tell them, if you live in the past, you cannot forge or fashion an agenda to move the country forward. As we welcome the Cabinet Secretary, I took liberty, Honorable Speaker, to inform those confused leaders out there to stop living in the past, to come to the present world under the new constitution, where Parliament and indeed the National Assembly is the one with the power of the past. Finally, Honorable Speaker, because I have listened to them, in their desperation, they are all telling the country, let us reject the finance bill. None of them has come out to tell Kenyans what particular clause in the finance bill do you have a problem with. But unlike in 2024, Honorable Speaker, when Kenyans largely did not understand that following public participation, a report will be tabled here by the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee, and many of the concerns that Kenyans have raised, they can wait for that report next week, and they will see the Finance and National Planning Committee has taken into account the concerns of the people of Kenya. And we shall amend the finance bill and pass a finance bill that is in the best interest of the people of Kenya and not to serve the political interests of those confused people who don't even know whether we are reading budgets or making public pronouncements. Honorable Speaker, thank you for that.
Next, 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to add my voice to what the majority leader said. Mr. Speaker, I know we are in the era of misinformation and disinformation. But Mr. Speaker, when that misinformation is coming from high level, senior members of the society, some of them who have been speakers in this house, Mr. Speaker, then it is worrying. Mr. Speaker, I heard the former speaker saying this is the first time a budget is being read when the president is not around. The last president who attended this house when we were reading budget was Mwai Kibaki, Mr. Speaker. Under the old constitution. Looks like these people don't know what's happening in the country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think they have no agenda to tell Kenya, so they are scavenging for anything. Even when the president travels is a problem to them, there's a minister in charge of treasury who should come to the house and read the budget, not the president, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, secondly, who is an expert? Mr. Speaker, secondly, they have spoken about the finance bill. First, they said that the finance bill has a clause that says all freehold titles will be changed to leasehold titles. That lie has been demystified. Now they have nothing else to say. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind the House and Kenyans that the person who is coming to read the estimates today is a former chairman of ODM. Can you repeat after me? ODM. Can you repeat after me? ODM. Thank you very much.
Order, honorable members. Order. Junet, you are out of order for conducting an illegal choir on the floor of the House. Honorable members, order. 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 Honorable members, for avoidance of doubt, the point made by Honorable Junet and Honorable Ichungwa, the President of the country is under no obligation to attend Parliament on the day when the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and Planning comes not to read a budget, but to make a statement and give to the country his revenue-raising measures. Indeed, if the President chose to come, which he can, he will sit in the Speaker's row. He will not sit where I'm sitting, where he comes to sit to address the House. So there is no such thing as a crisis because the President is out of the country. Budget is a preserve and an activity of National Assembly, exclusively. Exclusively. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022. Question to be put and that reading.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable Kainan, take your seat. Honorable members, Honorable Muliro. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover. Justice Kemei, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the chairman of the Agriculture Committee, I beg to move that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be now read a third time. I also request Honorable Susan Ngugi to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Susan.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I second.
Thank you. Members on their feet, Ndengu, take your seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 8, which is that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be now read a third time. Do I put the question? Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, which is that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be now read a third time. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for agricultural and livestock extension services, establish the agricultural and extension service, and for connected purposes.
Majority Leader, is now 3 o'clock. Will you search, find, and bring to the chamber the CS for National Treasury and Planning? Yes, order. Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, as you directed, I did not have to search for the minister. He was well within the principles of Parliament and on time. Honorable Speaker, it is now my pleasure and honor to present to the House and to the country, and to yourself, Honorable Speaker, the Minister for the National Treasury and Planning, FCPA, John Mbadi, expert.
Hold on, Minister. Take your seat. Honorable members, I have a short communication in relation to this agenda on order paper. Honorable members,
Spice up your life.
Of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures with the national government for the financial year 2026-27 and the medium term during this afternoon sitting. In this regard, and in accordance with the standing orders, I have designated a suitable place in the chamber for that purpose. Honourable members, it is in the tradition of this House to recognize invited guests seated in the galleries of our hallowed chamber. I therefore wish to recognize the presence of the following members of the Cabinet. Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration. Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs, Honorable Soipan Tuya, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Honorable Alice Wahome, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Aden Duale, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Health and Majority Leader Emeritus of this House, Honorable Julius Migos Ogamba, EPS, Cabinet Secretary for Education, Honorable Mutai Kagwe, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock Development, a former colleague of mine in the Senate and my yearmate at the University of Nairobi, the Honorable Salim Mvuria, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs and Sports, the Honorable Opio Wandai, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum and Minority Leader Emeritus of this House, Mrs. Hannah Wendot Cheptumo, Cabinet Secretary for Gender, Culture and Arts and Heritage, Honorable Dorcas Oduor, Senior Counsel, EGH, the Attorney General, Mrs. Mercy Wanjao, EGH, Secretary to the Cabinet. Honorable members, I also acknowledge all Principal Secretaries and their accompanying officials. I accord special recognition to the Principal Secretaries for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, Dr. Chris Kipto, CBS, Mr. Cyril Odede, and Dr. Boniface Makoha, who work closely with the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning. Honorable members, we are also joined by the following judges of the Superior Courts: Honorable Justice Hilary Chemitei, Judge of the High Court; Honorable Justice Mohammed Kulo, Judge of the Environment and Land Court; Honorable Justice Onesimus Macau, Judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Courts. They are accompanied by the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Mr. Paul Ndemo, OGW. I also wish honorable members to recognize the heads and members of the constitutional commissions and independent officers, as well as the leadership of state corporations who are in attendance. I further wish to recognize the distinguished members of the diplomatic corps and who have graciously joined us for this event. I also acknowledge the presence of the chairperson of the Council of Governors, His Excellency FCPA Ahmed Abdullahi, EGH, Governor of Wajir County. Honorable members, on behalf of the House, I extend a warm welcome to all our invited guests. The National Assembly is honored by your presence on this auspicious occasion. Your continued partnership and support to the work of Parliament is duly noted and valued. Honorable members, I now interrupt the business of the House to allow Honorable FCPA John Badi, EGH, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, also former leader of the minority party in the National Assembly, to make public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the financial year 2026-2027 and the medium term. The Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Honorable FCPA John Bandi, EGH, you may now proceed with your afternoon job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and honorable members of the 13th Parliament of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it is my honor and privilege to present to this August House and to the people of Kenya the budget statement for the financial year 2026-2027. I make this statement in fulfillment of the requirements of Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 412A, and Standing Order number 241 of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, this is the first budget since the passing of the late Right Honorable His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, who is fondly remembered as a patriot and national hero, and who steadfastly championed economic justice, democracy, and equal opportunity for all Kenyans. His legacy continues to inspire and guide us as we transform Kenya into a newly industrialized and middle-income economy. In honor of his immense contribution to our country, I would politely request and invite members of this esteemed House to observe a moment of silence, which will take 1 minute.
Members be upstanding. Guests in the galleries be upstanding.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was a key partner to His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, in the broad-based arrangement. Mr. Speaker, this budget captures the ideals of the two great leaders, especially on the aspiration to transform our economy from its current status to a more developed nation status, a path to Canaan through Singapore. The extensive public participation throughout the budget process presents a solid basis and foundation for what is clearly the people's budget. Mr. Speaker, public participation is a constitutional imperative. In compliance with this requirement, I personally led extensive public engagements with Kenyans from across the country in the last 1 year. This was meant to get their views and inputs to the budget that I am presenting today. For example, I met youth and business community, particularly boda operators, Juakali artisans, leadership of the Mitumba sector, and scrap metal dealers. I also engaged extensively with members of the Fourth Estate, and in the process, launched their Financial Journalists Association. Additionally, I traveled to various regions and conducted numerous regional dialogues. These include Kilifi in December 2025 for the Coastal Region Dialogue, Migori in Nyanza, Kakamega in Western, and Eldoret and Nakuru in Rift Valley regions in the month of January 2026. Mr. Speaker, in February 2026, I traveled to Kiambu and Meru counties, while in May 2026, I met the youth and the business community from Kajiado and Nairobi regions. The month of May and June 2026 have been very intense in terms of engagement. Mr. Speaker, besides these regional dialogues, I joined Bunge la Mwananchi community at Jivanji Gardens, Nairobi, and Gumzo la Uchumi, Mashinani, in Busia County for conversation with faith-based organizations in May 2026. I have also, on numerous occasions, appeared in a number of television stations expounding on what we are doing and what we intend to do as a government. Further, in the same month of May 2026, I returned to my alma mater, the University of Nairobi, where I had a dialogue with comrades at the Chandaria Auditorium. In my engagements with Mwananchi, I walked into a couple of shops to directly engage with the mobile phone dealers on the proposed tax changes, that is excise duty on mobile phones. Additionally, last Thursday, 4th of June 2026, I joined a panel of eminent professionals on the Citizen Digital X-Space in unpacking the Finance Bill 2026. The eminent professionals included FCPA Professor Elizabeth Kalunda, the chairperson of Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, Mr. Fred Kimodo, Deloitte Tax Policy Lead, Mr. Raymond Mulenje, the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Bankers Association, Mr. Tobias Alando, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and Mr. Kwame Owino, the Chief Executive Officer, Institute of Economic Affairs. A total of 15,847 Kenyans tuned in, while live listeners topped 14,249. Mr. Speaker, the message from Kenyans across the country, from our rural villages to our bustling towns and cities, the ordinary Mwananchi is clear and consistent in their messaging. They have genuine expectations from the government. Kenyans want an economy that works for them, an economy where the cost of living is manageable, where opportunities for employment and businesses are expanding, and where the benefits of economic growth are shared widely across society. Mr. Speaker, Wananchi want to see a government that listens to their concerns and responds with policies that promote opportunity, fairness, and prosperity. They want to see a government that protects their livelihoods, a government that supports farmers and small businesses, empowers the youth and women, and ensures that public resources are used prudently and transparently. Above all, the people of Kenya want assurance that their hard-earned taxes will translate into tangible improvements in their daily lives. Mr. Speaker, the main feedback from all these engagements was that the government should reduce the overall cost of living by lowering the tax burden on essential commodities, tame wastage of public resources, and decisively deal with corruption. Mr. Speaker, among the concerns and anxieties raised by Kenyans is the fear of potential outbreaks of infectious diseases, including Ebola, given the reported cases in some countries within the region. And so, Mr. Speaker, I wish to underscore that while Kenya is currently free of any confirmed Ebola virus disease, the government has activated the National Ebola Incident Management System to coordinate surveillance and response. Already, enhanced screening is taking place at all the points of entry, especially the airports and border points. The government has, in the meantime, trained over 1,000 health workers and put together a reserve team of 241 experts in epidemiology, laboratory services, and emergency response who remain on standby for rapid deployment. The government has also designated isolation and treatment facilities across the country, including at Kenyatta National Hospital and the National Police Service Hospital. The Ministry of Health is working closely with regional and international partners, including the World Health Organization, Africa CDC, IGAD, and the East African Community on this matter. Mr. Speaker, these efforts are further supported by our development partners. Already, the government of the United States of America has committed approximately US $13.5 million towards health security interventions, including disease surveillance and emergency preparedness. In addition, the World Bank has mobilized resources under the Regional Recovery and Resilience Operation Program, which will support, among others, interventions in strengthening the health systems. Mr. Speaker, these resources, complemented by domestic budgetary allocations, will significantly enhance Kenya's capability and capacity to prevent, detect, and respond to Ebola and other epidemic-prone diseases while safeguarding livelihoods and maintaining economic stability. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, this demonstrates that this government is listening and responding to the concerns of citizens. On other concerns Kenyans raised with me during the public engagements I highlighted above, I will be elaborating on interventions that the government is putting in place to cushion Kenyans and improve their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, the budget for financial year 2026-2027 will prioritize various interventions under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda that promote private sector-led growth, expand employment opportunities, and enhance delivery of public services while preserving fiscal sustainability and building resilience against emerging economic challenges. Mr. Speaker, this budget is being presented at a time of heightened global uncertainty arising from the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The conflict has disrupted global commodity markets and supply chains, weakened investor confidence, and tightened financial conditions. These developments have heightened risks to growth and inflation, increased pressure on public finances, and created uncertainty in global markets. For a developing economy such as Kenya, the impact is being felt through higher pump prices following a steep increase in global oil prices from an average of $63.06 per barrel in February 2026 to $94.4 per barrel by end of May 2026. In addition, tighter financing conditions, weakening export demand, slower investment flow, and rising cost of living continue to exert pressure on economic activities. Yet, even in this environment, new opportunities are emerging. Countries that strengthen competitiveness, deepen regional integration, and build resilient productive capacity will be the ones that will thrive. Mr. Speaker, it is against this backdrop that Kenya's economic journey over the past 3 years stands as a story of resilience. Difficult but necessary choices were made, delivering a steady recovery. Faced with significant domestic and external pressures and shocks, the government took difficult but necessary decisions to restore macroeconomic stability, strengthen public finances, and lay a firm foundation for sustainable growth. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the hard decisions are bearing fruits. Under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, we have recorded clear gains. First, the Kenyan economy has remained resilient and registered an average rate of 5% in the period of 2022 to 2025, outperforming the average global growth rate of 3.4% and that of sub-Saharan Africa of 4.1%. Importantly, macroeconomic stability has been preserved. Confidence in our economy has actually strengthened, and the foundation for sustained growth are now firmly in place. Macroeconomic fundamentals such as inflation and exchange rate have strongly rebounded and are projected to remain stable. Interest rates have declined, supporting growth in private sector credit from the banking industry. We have also accumulated the highest levels of official foreign exchange reserves of $13.2 billion, which is equivalent to 5.6 months of import cover by May 2026, providing adequate cover and a buffer against short-term domestic and external shocks. Mr. Speaker, let me mention some of the key achievements. Since the rollout of BETTER, or Bottom-Up Economic Transformation Agenda, the agriculture sector has registered key gains that include the following: reduced fertilizer costs through government subsidy programs, increased marketed agricultural production, expanded food security interventions, and strengthened farmer support services targeting both smallholder and commercial farmers. Specifically, fertilizer disbursements under the fertilizer subsidy program have increased substantially to 21.3 million bags in 2025 from, listen to this, 1.4 million bags disbursed in 2022. While the cost of a 50-kilogram bag of fertilizer declined from 7,500 shillings per bag to 2,500 shillings per bag. As a result of this, farmers realized estimated savings of approximately 105 billion shillings over a 2-year period, enabling increased investment in production. Agricultural production has increased significantly between 2022 and 2025. For example, maize production almost doubling to 67 million bags in 2025 from 34 million bags in 2022. While maize imports have declined substantially to 3.3 million bags from 9.9 million bags over the same period, reflecting improved domestic efficiency. The increased production contributed to a decline of retail prices of a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour from an average of 250 shillings to an average of 165 shillings over the same period. Paddy rice production also increased significantly to 303 195,724 metric tons in 2025 from 192,299 metric tons in 2022. To support expanded cultivation, the area under rice production in public irrigation schemes increased from 48,324 acres to 71,624 acres. Potato production increased to 2.5 million tons in 2025 from 1.8 million tons in 2022. And milk production increased to 5.5 million liters in 2025 from 4.6 million liters. Let me repeat that. Production of milk has increased from 5.5 billion liters in 2025 from 4.6 billion liters in 2022. The increased production has improved food security, reduced dependence on food imports, and contributed to more stable food prices and higher farmer incomes. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, farmers across the other sector, various value chains, have enhanced production and benefited from higher earnings. Tea production has grown to 550.4 million kilograms in 2025 from 535 million kilograms in 2022, while tea export earnings rose significantly to Kenya shillings 187 billion from Kenya shillings 163 billion over the same period. To support rehabilitation of aging plantations and expansion of coffee acreage, the government distributed coffee seedlings progressively across the years, including 85,000 seedlings distributed in the financial year of 23-24, 809,000 seedlings in financial year 2024-2025, and 3,127,769 seedlings in financial year 2025-2026, and a further 2,242,769 coffee seedlings under the March to May 2026 long-range program. As a result of these interventions, the area under coffee has increased from 115,500 hectares in 2025 from 109,385 hectares in 2022. In the edible oils industry or sector, the area under edible crops increased significantly to 114,350 hectares in 2025 from 60,000 hectares in 2022, reflecting growing farmer participation and investment in the subsector. Further, Mr. Speaker, interventions under the sugar sector has led to significant growth in both cane production and processing capacity, with the area under sugarcane cultivation increasing by 19.4% and the national sugar production rising to 815,454 metric tons in 2024 from 472,773 metric tons in 2022. Mr. Speaker, having spoken about agriculture, and you can see the kind of improvement that has taken place in agriculture, let me now turn to healthcare. Access to healthcare has expanded substantially through far-reaching reforms aimed at strengthening primary healthcare, improving service delivery, and ensuring sustainable health financing. A total of 31.2 million Kenyans are now registered under the Social Health Authority, compared to about 8 million under the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund, while 228 primary care networks have been established and operationalized. A total of 107,831 community health promoters have been recruited and trained, while 16,810 medical interns have undergone internship, bringing healthcare services closer to communities. Mr. Speaker, the government recognizes the critical role the contracted healthcare facilities play in the delivery of healthcare services to Kenyans. It is with this in mind that the government in the current financial year of 25-26 allocated 4 billion for settlement of outstanding National Hospital Insurance Fund pending bills. And going forward, we will settle the balance of the bills that are owed under the defunct National Hostel Insurance Fund and which span over the years. Mr. Speaker, this allocation is specifically designated for settlement of NHIF pending bills owed to contracted health care facilities in accordance with the presidential directive that prioritized the clearance of outstanding obligations for facilities with claims not exceeding 10 million shillings. The claims earmarked for settlement under this allocation have been duly verified and adjudicated and will be fully paid before the close of this financial year, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government will subsequently prioritize payment of the outstanding claims exceeding the 10 million threshold once verified in the next budget. Mr. Speaker, the government has accelerated implementation of the affordable housing program to address Kenya's housing deficit, create jobs, stimulate local manufacturing, support MSMEs, strengthen county economies, and improve the quality of life for millions of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, through the program, number one, a total of 277,281 housing units have been completed or are under implementation nationwide as at May 2026. Two, the program has also successfully aggregated demand through the Bomayangu platform, where more than 1 million Kenyans have registered their interest in home ownership, demonstrating both the scale of housing demand and growing public confidence in the government housing agenda. And I hope they will not listen to other voices outside there. Number three, to improve living conditions for students and support the expansion of higher education, the government has packaged 177,686 students' beds for development across universities, while 22,512 institutional housing units are under construction for our disciplined forces, teachers, healthcare workers, and other public servants. Number four, the program has also created over 640,442 jobs across the housing value chain through construction activities, professional services, manufacturing, logistics, and supporting industries. And of course, these are Kenyans who would be jobless if we didn't have their housing program. And number five, under the Modern Markets program, a total of 476 markets have been packaged for development nationwide, with 354 already under implementation. This will provide dignified trading spaces and support entrepreneurship, and that is the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the government continues to implement a number of interventions to empower our youth. And in particular, the government has, one, constructed 4 youth empowerment centers in Mwea, Chepalungu, Dagoretti North, and Mandera South constituencies. In addition, 25 youth empowerment centers have been equipped, bringing the total to 156 youth empowerment centers across the country. Number two, the government has also enhanced skills development and wealth creation through provision of loans to 93,559 youth entrepreneurs through the Youth Enterprise Development Funds. Additionally, 91,253 youth have benefited through startup grants under the National Youth Opportunity Towards Advancement (NYOTA) program. The NYOTA program has also supported 51,604 youth through on-job experience in 26 counties across the country. And number three, government has also implemented Vijana Vuka na Afya project in Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa, where 72,623 youths have benefited from subsidized sexual reproductive health services. Mr. Speaker, in support of the creative economy, the government has established 3 film hubs in Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri, and also in Bomet and in Migori counties, and fully equipped them with film production equipment. Additionally, a cinema theater has been established at Dedan Kimathi University of Technology with a capacity of 150 audiences. Further, to reach more youth, particularly in rural areas, a cinema machinani program has been rolled out. The government has also facilitated the production of 1,745 local and foreign films in Kenya and trained 1,847 filmmakers. Mr. Speaker, to further empower the youth, the government, in partnership with the United Nations Development Program, has developed the NextGen.ke initiative that will provide recently graduated youth with paid internship opportunities in the private sector, enabling them to acquire practical workplace experience and market-relevant skills. And I personally led the negotiation on this scope. To support this intervention, the government has committed an initial allocation of $2 billion towards its implementation. Mr. Speaker, given the scale of the youth employment challenge, the government further calls upon development partners, the private sector, philanthropic organizations, and other stakeholders to join this national effort, acknowledging that the task of creating opportunities for Kenya's youth extends beyond the capacity of government alone and requires a broad-based partnership for sustainable impact. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker and honorable members, to support MSMEs, the government has moved deliberately to put affordable credit, markets and shared infrastructure directly into the hands of the enterprises and the young people at the base of the economy. To expand access to affordable credit, the government set up the Hustler Fund in 2022. Since then, the fund has actually disbursed 87 billion Kenya shillings to 28 million accounts and given 4.5 million people previously unscored or blacklisted Kenyans a formal credit history for the first time. Mr. Speaker, under the Nyota program, more than 5.6 billion has been invested in business skills training, mentorship and startup capital, benefiting at least 84 youths in each of the country's 1,450 wards. And to promote value addition, the government has equipped 214 industrial development centers in our constituencies and opened regional markets to more than 1,100 of our enterprises, creating over 23,000 direct and indirect jobs. This is the bottom-up transformation at work, and in the coming year, we will scale it further. Mr. Speaker, the sustained investment by the government since 2022 has improved infrastructure development, thereby enhancing connectivity, boosting manufacturing, facilitating trade, and enhancing access to markets and essential services. Key achievements in this sector include the following. 1, expansion of road network across the country, with over 2,669 kilometers of roads constructed and more than 132,000 kilometers maintained. Number 2, increase country's installed electricity generation capacity to 3,272 megawatts as at April 2026, with additional capacity expected from the 35 megawatts Globek power plant. To improve energy security and reliability, the government has modernized substations, strengthened the national grid, reduced system losses, and enhanced regional power interconnections. As a result, 73.45 kilometers of transmission lines and associated substations were constructed, while 200 kilometers of transmission lines were energized, including the Lesos, Kabarnet, Kitui Wote, and Sondu Homa Bay lines. In addition, 330 kilometers of distribution lines and 7 associated substations were also completed. Mr. Speaker, during the same period, access to electricity expanded significantly, with the number of customers connected rising from 8.9 million to over 10.2 million Kenyans. And number 3, industrialization is currently gaining momentum, with 10 county aggregation and industrial parks constructed over the last 3 years to support value addition and create employment opportunities across the counties. Mr. Speaker, we have also invested heavily in critical social sectors and supported the vulnerable in the society. And as a result, a social protection program have been strengthened, with 1.2 million vulnerable Kenyans currently supported under the Inua Jamii program, helping to improve household resilience and protect the most vulnerable members of our society. And access to education and skills development has expanded through the implementation of far-reaching reforms across the education sector, including successful implementation of the competency-based curriculum, Number 2, rollout of the student-centered funding model through which nearly 500,000 university and TVET students have benefited from scholarships and loans based on need and merit. Number 3, recruitment of 100,000 teachers to strengthen teaching capacity and improve learner outcomes, a record in the history of any government in this country. Number 4, timely and consistent release, and I want to repeat, timely and consistent release of capitation funds to support learning in basic institutions. Number 5, construction of over 23,000 classrooms and commencement of 1,600 laboratories in partnership with the National Government Constituency Development Fund, which continues to do a good job and deliver services to this country. Revitalization of technical and vocational education and training, with enrollment increasing from 562,499 trainees in 2022 to currently 825,484 trainees in 2025. Mr. Speaker, access to clean and safe water has improved, with an additional 6 million Kenyans gaining access to water services through investment in key projects, thus enhancing public health and supporting economic activity. This comes as no surprise, considering that Kenya is a leader in designing innovative, paradigm-shifting, locally led climate action. Take the FLOCA program, for example. It has broken the barrier in financing locally prioritized and locally led resilience investments in 1,380 wards across 45 counties, benefiting more than 2.5 million beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, key among the FLOCA gold standard investments are the 58-kilometer rehabilitation of the Colonial Yatta Canal in Machakos County, a reverse osmosis water treatment facility in Makueni, and the Kolanya water project in Busia County. As a matter of fact, Kenya is the leading beneficiary of the Green Climate Fund, with a total of 37 projects approved and with a portfolio of more than $1 billion, a remarkable achievement that led Kenya's identification as the host of Green Climate Finance Africa Region Office. Mr. Speaker, the government has made strides in the blue economy. Gains made under it includes fish landing sites. 5 coastal counties have modern landing sites under development. Mwape in Kwale, Kenya shillings 255 million. Kidongo in Mombasa, 175 million shillings. Kilifi Central, 275 million. Kipini in Tana River, 151 million. Mokoe in Lamu, 239 million. Each of the sites includes ice and cold storage facilities, boat docking areas, processing points, ablution blocks, market stalls, and waste management system, supporting fish preservation, trade, and employment. These projects are scheduled for completion by June 2026. Also included in these gains is the lake sites. There are 4 fish landing sites, 9 sites along Lake Victoria, including Asat, Ogal, Bumbe, Wichlum, Asembo Bay, Wakula, Mainuga, Nyandiwa, and Gorkachola at 1.49 billion by end of June 2026. Along Lake Turkana is also the Kalokol fish landing site, 182 million. Contractor on site includes docking facilities, cold storage and ice plants, fish processing areas, and market support infrastructure. There is also Lower Engak Fish Market, 185 million. Contractor on site, features cold storage, hygienic market stalls, and processing facilities to support fishers and traders. This is the inclusion that we need in this country. Mr. Speaker, the arid and semi-arid lands in the northern Kenya region has historically been marginalized. And to drive inclusion and transform the region, the government is implementing various interventions targeting infrastructure development and social inclusion programs. These include construction of a 750-kilometer northern Kenya Gateway Corridor that connects 3 expansive counties of Isiolo, Wajir, and Mandera to boost regional connectivity and trade. Under this, there are various ongoing roads that government is implementing with the support of development partners. Mr. Speaker, the government is also implementing various water interventions in the region through drilling and equipping of boreholes, construction of dams and water pans, and expansion of bulk water supply systems. Further, key interventions in the education sector include recruitment of 5,000 teachers in the hard-to-reach areas, integration of alternative learning systems like Duksi or Islamic religious schools and madrasa into formal education framework, construction of low-cost boarding facilities and dormitories in this region, provision of scholarships to protect vulnerable students from dropping out, and implementation of TVETs to equip pastoralist youth with hands-on skills. Finally, Mr. Speaker, devolution has been strengthened through the consistent and timely disbursement of resources to county governments, ensuring continuity in service delivery and implementation of county development programs. Since 2022, funding to county governments has steadily increased, with equitable share to counties increasing from 370 billion shillings in financial year 2022-23 budget to 428 billion Kenya shillings in the financial year 2026-27 budget. Total county allocations that include shareable revenue and additional allocations from the national government allocations, as well as donor proceeds, has therefore increased from 392 billion to 502 billion over the same period. This reflects government's unwavering commitment to safeguarding and strengthening devolution as a key pillar of inclusive national development. Mr. Speaker, while we take pride in these achievements, we cannot afford complacency. Global uncertainty persists, high cost of living continues to affect many households, youth unemployment persists, and climate-related shocks continue to affect livelihoods and production. Mr. Speaker, our task is therefore clear: to solve the many problems facing Kenyans by sustaining targeted interventions and better in order to accelerate job creation for our youth, grow investment and trade, and deepen economic resilience. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, we chose the theme of the financial year 2026-27 budget as sustaining the bottom-up economic transformation agenda for resilient and inclusive growth amid global uncertainty. This theme aligns with the current challenges and priorities of the government. And Mr. Speaker, as we move forward in implementing the government's transformation agenda, we remain mindful of all the concerns raised by Kenyans on the prevailing fiscal environment and the need for continued prudence in the management of public resources. The current fiscal position that is characterized by narrowing fiscal space calls for careful prioritization and disciplined execution of government programs. Mr. Speaker, let me speak plainly about the fiscal reality we face. Kenya's infrastructure financing deficit stands at approximately $5 billion every year. That's about 650 billion Kenya shillings. Our development budget, while growing, cannot close that gap alone. The era of financing every road, every power line, and every dam through government borrowing and taxation is over. Not because we lack ambitions, but because we have learned from the consequences of that model. Debt finance infrastructure has left us with more debt service obligations that crowd out the very spending our people need most on health, education, and social protection. So, Mr. Speaker, we are going to build better. We are shifting from a model where government borrows to build to enhanced use of the public-private partnership and the recently established National Infrastructure Fund in funding priority infrastructure through private sector finances. That is the foundation on which this government's infrastructure program rests. Mr. Speaker, the Rironi-Nakuru-Mau Summit Expressway stands as proof. Construction of the expressway is now underway, and Kenyans will be driving on a modern 4- to 6-lane expressway once completed. Thank you. What makes this project truly historic is not the speed of delivery, it is how it was financed. Through the participation of the National Social Security Fund, both as a debt and equity investor, alongside international investors, a major national highway is being built with Kenyan capital by Kenyan workers and for the Kenyan people. Mr. Speaker, beyond the Rironi Nakuru Mau Summit project, the government will continue executing an ambitious infrastructure development plan through the National Infrastructure Fund. The fund will leverage on resources from privatization proceeds from mature national assets to attract private capital, domestic pension funds, and climate finance. Mr. Speaker, the rest of my statement now will present the economic context underpinning this budget, followed by the policy priorities, fiscal framework, expenditure proposals, and taxation measures for the financial year 2026-2027. I now turn to economic policy context, and I want to speak about the global context. Mr. Speaker, this budget, as I said earlier, has been prepared amidst heightened uncertainties associated with ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The conflict has disrupted critical energy infrastructure and major shipping routes, including the Strait of Hormuz, thereby exerting pressure, upward pressure on prices of energy and food. Mr. Speaker, against this backdrop, global growth is therefore projected to slow down to 3.1% in 2026 and 3.2% in 2027, from the average of 3.4% in both 2024 and 2025. Domestic economy. Back home, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the challenging global environment, the Kenyan economy has remained largely resilient, and the economy grew at an average of 5% in the period 2022 to 2025, outperforming the average global growth of 3.4% and that of sub-Saharan Africa of 4.1%. This performance reflects sound macroeconomic policy management, particularly prudent monetary and sound fiscal policies, sustained structural reforms, and the increasing diversification of the economy, which has enhanced its capacity to withstand severe shocks. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, the economy grew by 4.6% compared to a growth rate of 4.7% in 2024. This growth was supported by positive growth in all the sectors. All the sectors of the economy at least registered positive growth. The outlook for 2026 has been revised downwards, however, to 5% from the earlier projection of 5.3%, reflecting the adverse impact of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East to domestic economic activities. The economy is projected to maintain the momentum in 2027 with a projected growth rate of 5.2%. So, Mr. Speaker, macroeconomic indicators remain broadly stable through the emerging external pressures, though the emerging external pressures continue to impact domestic prices. And in particular, overall inflation increased to 6.7% in May 2026 from 5.6% in April and from 3.8% in May 2025 due to higher energy prices arising from the elevated global oil prices, but remained within the target range of plus or minus 2.5% over and above 5%. Inflation is expected to remain within the target range in the near term, assuming a de-escalation of the conflict in the Middle East and supported by appropriate monetary policy actions and government interventions. Expected stability in food prices due to favorable weather conditions and the stability in the exchange rate. Mr. Speaker, in April 2026, the government has deployed targeted stabilization measures to cushion consumers from the full impact of rising global fuel prices. These interventions include use of resources in the Petroleum Development Levy Fund to subsidize the fuel pump prices. And in addition, the government lowered the VAT rate on petroleum products for 3 months from 16% to 8%. Mr. Speaker, monetary conditions have eased considerably. This follows reduction in the central bank rate from 11.25% in December 2024 to the current rate of 8.7%. And I'm happy the CBK maintained the same rate for the time being.